Well, hello and happy Tuesday Torah study. We're going to be taking a look over the next couple of Tuesdays at the 26th Psalm. A lot of stuff in there for us to consider about ourselves and about our relationship with Yahuwah, our Elohim. So let's take a look. This is kind of an exegesis on the 26th Psalm. Exegesis means a very close look at the 26th Psalm. And it starts off, it says, of David, judge me, O Yahuwah, for I have walked in my integrity, and I have trusted in Yahuwah without wavering. I have walked in my integrity, and I've trusted in Yahuwah without wavering. Is that true? So let's consider some of these things. It starts off with a word. Let's say it starts off with Le David. Okay, so of David, but the Lamed prefix also gives us towards something, in the direction of something, according to something. Okay, David comes from the root dodi that means beloved. So what do we consider in this? Towards becoming the beloved of Elohim. So let's consider this first word that we have to look at is shefatanai, or shefatani, I'm sorry. Judge me. The word for judge here is shafet. Now this word means to act as a lawgiver, to rule, to defend. It's most important to consider the balance of the verse in order to establish better clarity. I have walked. I have trusted. In these two statements, we understand that it is the I that is the focus. Next, we consider the Hebrew letters to give us a wider perspective. All Hebrew letters have meaning. All Hebrew letters are numbers. We'll be doing a study of the Hebrew letters on the Tikkun Hamilah School of Biblical Studies YouTube page, as well as the Facebook page later on down the road. But we look at this letter Shin. Right. Shin is a representation of a paradox. We have the front side of Shin and we have the back side of Shin, which we would call, the letter is called Sin. So we have two sides. Do we see things from Elohim's point of view? That's the front side. Or do we look at things from our own point of view? And that's the back side. The front side is based on our relationship with our Elohim. The back side is based on our relationship with our emotions. We could say it's based on our relationship with Satan. But we kind of have to get away from this idea of some dude dressed in a red costume, okay? The root of the word Satan is shetim, which is a word that means kind of raw, unfiltered emotion. The Ark of the Covenant was shittim wood, but it's covered in gold, telling us that our emotions have to be tempered in order for the Shekinah, the Spirit of Elohim, to reside within us, upon us. And if we say it's within Him that we live and move and have our existence, then we have to understand that it's because we allow the Ruach HaKodesh, the Spirit of Elohim, to temper us. Okay, so Shin, 2 points of view. My point of view, the backside, or Elohim's point of view, the front side. Okay, so do we do things from Elohim's point of view or from our point of view? Now, Pei is a letter that means mouth, but it also represents word, communication, presence. Okay? Tet brings us to another paradox. Okay? Tet is composed of, all Hebrew letters are composed of other Hebrew letters, with the exception of Yod, which is the smallest of the Hebrew letters. Everything is constructed by and through the Yod. When the pen touches the paper, the Yod is formed. When it leaves the paper, the Yod is finished, and it makes the letter in between. So it's the first, the middle, and the last of everything. And here we have a representation of truth. But that's a different story. Tet, gives us another paradox. It's composed of the letter Vav that represents you and I, humankind, our carnal side, our flesh, bowing in submission to a letter Zion that represents the word of Elohim. It represents the protection, the nourishment, the rest that we find in that word, and by proxy, in a relationship with our Elohim. So, do we bow before our Elohim and his word, or do we, like the serpent, because that's the other side of the paradox, when we look at the Tet, it looks like a serpent. So, are we like the serpent that we crawl on our belly eating the dust of the ground? These all represent questions that the I must answer, not questions that need to be judged by Elohim. We have to consider that first question in the Torah that we talked about, that first question. Where are you? Where am I? What do I need to change? Am I looking at things from my point of view? Am I looking at things from Elohim's point of view? Just because it looks bad and everything's crumbling down around me, what is the one positive thing in all of that I can find, that I can grow to push away all the negative? Because if I can find one shed of light in darkness, I can change the perspective of everything. So, going on, another consideration in the word shafet is that it's geometry, it's gematria. All Hebrew letters are also numbers. If we add these three letters together, the shin, the pei, and the tet, we get 389, which is a prime number, only divisible by itself. We have to be able to look within, because only we can truly shema, perceive, discern, understand where we are and what we need to change in order to shema, obey, apply, and be content in where we are. All right? So we remember in Bereshit, in Genesis 6:3, where Elohim said that his spirit would not judge humankind because they were flesh, and that their lifespan would be 120 years. With all this in mind, we have to see that it isn't about Elohim's judging us, rather it's about his ruling us and defending us through his word from ourselves. Thus, the other meaning of shafet is to vindicate, to clear of suspicion, to provide a defense. Imagine that. Elohim provides a defense for us. And to provide a means of justification. Yahuwah, our Elohim, provides for us a means of justification. But we have to be able to look at things from the right point of view. So we have the name Yahuwah. Okay, the name of Elohim. One of the meanings of that name is who is, who was, and who is to come. Elohim is eternal in his name. Okay, consider Elohim. Okay, the singular is El, but Elohim is a plural. That means there are many powers associated with what Yahuwah can do in our lives, if we will get out of the way, open our eyes, and understand what our Elohim is doing so that we can get on board and get our hands involved according to how he's instructing us to do it. It's not a religious thing. The Bible, the Torah, has nothing to do with religion. It has everything to do with relationship. Torah in and of itself means instruction. Okay? So the root of Yahuwah is Chaya, that also means to occur, to establish, and to exist. It isn't simply to say God or Lord. When we understand our relationship with Yahuwah Elohim, it becomes very personal and very intimate, because we are to build a very personal and intimate relationship with our Elohim. That in doing so, Elohim will be in our lives and will establish himself through his word and his spirit in our hearts, and will manifest his existence to us in everything that we are, say, and do. So, moving on, we come to this next word, which is halacheti, that means I have walked. Halach doesn't only mean to walk. Listen to this. It means the manner in which we live, our way of life. Its root, yalach, means to cause to walk, to carry, and to prosper. So keeping our way of life in mind, we'll consider the Hebrew letters of these two words. Both contain the letter lamed, which in Hebrew is a word that means instruction or teaching. This also contains the final form of the letter kaf, that represents both the potential for as well as actual blessing. So if we walk according to guidance, according to instruction, according to Torah. Torah means instruction. It means guidance. We move with a potential for blessing that evolves or manifests itself in actual blessing, if we will simply allow ourselves to build that special relationship with Yahuwah, our Elohim. Halach also contains the letter He, which is a representation of the spirit of Elohim. We find this in the word Bachbaram in Bereshit, or Genesis chapter 2. He says this is when the earth and the heavens were created. It's the only time in the Bible that earth comes before heavens. Okay? When he created humankind, he breathed into his spirit. But Bachbaram means we're created. But in Bachbaram, when we read it in Hebrew, we'll find that it has a little bitty hey in the middle, telling the reader to breathe. So it represents the spirit of Elohim in creating manifestation. But we have to also consider that He, the first time that we see the letter He as a root of a word in Torah, is the word Chene, that means to pay attention. We have to be aware of the spirit of Elohim in our lives. How do we do that? By following instructions, by being aware of what his word actually says to us. Not simply when we read it on the topical side, but being willing to delve deeper like we're doing here and understand what even the words and the numbers have to say to us within the scripture itself. All right, so hey, the spirit in the word Yalach has the Yod, which is a representation of truth. Remember, the Yod starts the letter, it's the middle of a letter, and is the last movement of a letter. It's the first, middle, and last. And in this we have the first letter is Aleph, the middle letter is Mem, the last letter is Tav. They spell the word Emet, that means truth. So Yod represents the truth. So the manner of life, the way we live, our way of life, we must walk, is a manner or a way that is based in spirit and in truth. And in that we can see in John 4:23-24, he says, the Father is seeking worshipers that will worship him in spirit and in truth. Well, what is worship? Worship doesn't mean playing a piano or having a guitar and singing songs and raising your hands and all this stuff. Worship is, the Father is seeking those to communicate, is a better word than worship, in spirit and in truth. Okay? So in doing so, and in following the instruction of his word, we are blessed and have the potential to receive blessing. So then we come to the word betumi, in my integrity. The root of this phrase is tome, which means not only integrity, but it also means completeness, innocence, and simplicity. Do we overcomplicate things? Do we overcomplicate our relationship with our Elohim? Because we're so entrapped in our doctrines and our dogmas and our tachanot that you have to worship something called God in this way or in that way, instead of having a relationship and building a relationship with Yahweh your Elohim. I'm married to my wife. I don't have a instruction book that tells me this is how you shall be married to your wife. I do it out of love, out of integrity, out of honesty. Okay? Elohim gave us a book of instruction on how to have a relationship. He didn't give us people to tell us how it should be done. We should be willing to read his word and understand what it says on our own. But anyway, I'll get off the soapbox. Okay, so completeness, innocence, simplicity. The root of this word is tamam, that means holy, to be holy, as in fully, not holy as in holy. Holy is really not a word in Hebrew. There's no word for holy in Hebrew. Kadosh means to be set apart to a specific purpose in something. But anyway, that's a totally different story. All right. Fully, wholly, completely, to be consumed, to be unimpaired, to be blameless, and to be fully crossed over. That's interesting. Crossed over, to cross over is Ibrit, which means is the root of the word Hebrew. So you say, well, I'm not a Hebrew. Well, if you've crossed over from one stage of life into another, well, yes, you are a Brit. It doesn't make a difference what you are. Anyway, let's get off of that one. All right. It means much more than to simply be upright in our lives. It's a reminder that we are a work in progress, and that the goal is to be complete and fully crossed over, and that getting to this point, we must not only be unimpaired in our perception of Yahuwah and his word, we must be consumed by it. Now, let's drop the religious idea of that. Ooh, I'm a holy roller because all I do is read the Bible. No, I have to be consumed with the desire to, let's keep it simple, okay? Let's keep it simple. One of these fruits here of this word. I must be consumed with the desire to keep the 10 Commandments. Okay, that's simple enough. Understand that Yahuwah is Elohim. Respect my mother and my father, but underlying of that is respect my life. And then follow the rules on how to get along with other people. Starting off with not murdering them. Although sometimes we want to. People do that to us, don't they? Don't murder. Don't steal. don't lie. Don't covet things. Okay? Now I'm sure I'm missing one in there somewhere. But anyway, so in doing these things, we have the potential again to receive blessing. But our perception of Yahuwah and his word must not be impaired. We have to be consumed by it. Then we come to the next word, batach, trusted. This word also means to have confidence, or to have confidence in, to be secure in. The root is chasa, that means to seek refuge in and to have hope in. Keep this in mind, that we seek refuge inside his house, the word, and his deliverance, who is Yahusha. Okay? Yahusha was our master. He taught us a lot of things. But Yahusha, the word as a concept, means that it is Yahuwah who delivers us, redeems us, restores us. Okay? So we come to this next grouping of words. Lo me'ad, I will not slide. Me'ad also means to slip or to waver. So in a sense, it means lacking stability. I will not have a lack of stability. How do I not have a lack of stability? I allow myself to be consumed by the relationship that I have with my Elohim. In fleshly terms, I'm consumed by the relationship that I have with my wife. Okay? I want to do everything I can to make her happy, to make her life pleasant. By proxy, she wants to make my life happy and pleasant as well. Okay? So I will not slide. Me'ad also means to slip or to waver. It's to have a lack of stability. Two things can and do affect our relationship with our Elohim. And they are letters associated with this phrase. Lo. We see the Lamed representing instruction, and the Aleph, which represents Yahuwah Elohim. Lo is one of these words for no in the Torah. Okay, it's one of these Hebrew words. In this case, it means will not. But lo is one of those words for no, shalt not, that leaves us the choice to not do it or to do it. Okay? And it's because of Elohim's word that we can overcome the transgression that causes us to fall. Because of the word of Elohim, we can overcome transgression that allows us to fall, or that causes us to fall. Okay? We have to get away from this idea of something called sin. Oh, I'm filled with sin. No, the word is chatat. Chatat means to stray off course. Okay? I can't be filled with straying off course. But my life can be filled with events where I stray off course. Goes back to the letter He, Hene. Behold, pay attention. Am I paying attention to the Spirit, again, He, of Yahuwah, my Elohim, in my life, by and through his word, where I understand before I stray off course, or when I do stray off course, okay, do I catch myself and get back on course? Again, not a religious concept there. I can stray off course in a lot of things in my life. I can make bad decisions because I allow shittim to escape the gold that covers it. And my emotions allow me to make the wrong choices. I can't blame it on some dude named Satan. Okay? In the phrase emead, which means to waver, we see that the poverty in the dalet, the perception in the ayin, the letter ayin, and again the mem and the aleph, we have the idea that the word of Yahuwah, based on what we've surmised so far, is that we see the importance of making the word of Yahuwah our way of life, as opposed to simply reading the Bible. So there is our first verse in our study of the 26 Psalms on this Tuesday. And I hope that everyone has a wonderful, wonderful rest of the week. And we'll see you again on Shabbat. I love you all. Shalom.